Hi, this is Gary Husband, and this video is about trying to play some music drawing from our own life and our creative expression. The context vary, but the bottom line stays the same. Just spirit, heart, and soul. I've had the pleasure of playing with Paul in a very casual little club here in London called the 606. He's really a happening guitar player, you know. He has absorbed many of the styles that I have through the years, a lot more of the kind of bebop sensibilities. He's a wonderful kind of natural musician. He kind of picks things up, and he plays wonderfully with drums, you know. I respond to anybody who plays wonderfully with drums. Mick is a very rich bass player in the bebop and beyond tradition. He has the most important influences that we all have. It's like I look at Mick and he is the bass. You know, his fingers, he just is a bass somehow, you know, if that can be possible. He's another very, very organic musician. He has a most incredible feel for bebop, and I play in a bebop band with Jim Mullen here with him, and I look forward to it every night because it's just an absolute pleasure with him. He feels the time so consistently and steady, and he has a real kind of high action sound, which I love in acoustic bass, and really strong. You know, he whacks those strings.
The most important thing for me in music is to work with a good drummer. I've been lucky enough to work with quite a few good drummers. Gary's at the top of my list, and if you don't have that, then the music's a non-starter, in my opinion.
the drummer makes the band. It's always, that's it. And if the drummer ain't any good, then the band's no good. And I've always been really lucky because I've always been surrounded by the greatest drummers on the planet. So I'm a lucky guy.
Mark and I go back to 87, the end of 87, and he paid me the fantastic gesture of phoning me up based on what he'd heard on Alan Holdsworth records, where, for instance, my snare drum tuning has always been very high, and he always loved that kind of, he's a drummer himself, he loved this Lenny White kind of Billy Cobham kind of sound, and I always had that sound. I think he heard the sound first and then he thought, yeah, that could work. So that was a fantastic gesture of enormous strength and will. Playing with him is just like playing with a dynamo. He's got so much energy, he's got so much facility, he's got so much drive and power. You can't help but get swept along with it or fight it, but not in a derogatory kind of way. I mean, fight it, meet it head on. With Paul Carmichael, I always felt that he had absolutely no panic in it towards the way I played and the way Alan played, and towards us two individuals. Paul, he's got a deep sense of fun, and he's got a very strong rhythmic concept. He doesn't take the whole thing so seriously. I'm definitely always very, very aware of roots when I listen to music somehow. I don't know why, maybe just on an instinctive level. For me, coming from Yorkshire, I can really hear that that's always there, in spite of the immense American and beyond influences that I work from all the time. I think the roots of something, particularly what I do, are inherent all the time.
Drums are great, man. What can you say? A drum is a woman, apparently. I love them. I think drummers are even better than drums.
When Jack and I first started to play, we were playing with just a guitar player. This is long before we played with Gary Moore. And we had a cross-section of material in that band, some of the old Cream stuff, which I was delighted to be a part of, because Cream for me was, they were particular exponents of Interplay, prime exponents. The stuff that we're hearing come out of that group, you know, that's a big inspiration for all of us.
I rest my case.
Playing with Alan is kind of like waves in amongst the rhythm. I've always felt with Alan that he's got a serious sense of time and rhythm, and I believe it governs everything that he does in terms of note groups and phrases. With Steve Topping, he has a deep and direct rhythmic attack that corresponds really dead on with drums, and this is a much closer association with the drum function. with Alan, it's almost as if what's implied is more in keeping with how the music's going. It's almost as if what we imply to each other makes the music happen. In this segment, I'd like to demonstrate some of the beats that I get often asked about at clinics. This first one is from a piece called A Tavakron, and it's from an album called A Tavakron. This second one is from a piece called Non-Brewed Condiment, also on the Atavakon record. And it features more of a beat that has a definite character of question and answer. This third and final one from the Holdsworth repertoire comes from a piece called Sand. There's one beat I forgot, and that's from a piece called The Merry-Go-Round, which Alan Holdsworth wrote again. It was dedicated to his father. It came out on an album called Metal Fatigue, and it features a compositional phrase of 3/4/4 bars and a 5/4 bar. I'd like to finish up this segment with a beat from an album called Thrive that I recorded with a band called Gongzilla from Canada, and it derives heavily again from the kind of single and double, triple paradiddles, the kind of thing that Billy Cobham brought into heavy prominence in the early 70s. And this is from a track called Shaman. There's one more track on this Gongzilla record which you might want to check out. It's a track called Say It Loud. Gary's style is particularly biting and rhythmic, much like Steve's, but in a much different way. There's a certain earthiness in what he does. and I respond, you know, when people play that rhythmically with drums, I respond directly to that. I think every other drummer that I listen to, and that I have listened to over the years, has changed things dramatically for me. In the way that I've understood what these particular drummers have been about each time. I've made a special effort to look at each one, to a point analyze what they do. I've tried to get similar time feelings, like the way they played ride cymbal. I've tried to get the same kind of sound. By this I mean trying different sticks, trying different heads, trying anything, playing it in different velocity, and finding out when I eventually saw them that I was playing much too loud to get, you know, oh, they played much, much gentler than that, and that's how they got that kind of sound. And then you find out that maybe certain sounds were down to production. You don't know all this when you're innocently listening to records. The nice thing was that I was able to buy different records with the same drummer on and think, how does he get a sound? And then I kind of realized that as time went by, I remember walking into Ronnie Scott's one night and hearing Bill Evans play piano. The second night was the first of a night with McCoy Tyner, and he was playing exactly the same piano. If you think about a finger on a note and a series of spring and hammers, and then hitting the string, there's no direct contact with that note. How does he get a personalized response from that instrument? Is what's beyond me. It's fascinated me. Same with the drummer, how you hold a stick and the only thing to have contact with the drum is the end of the stick. I mean, I found this intriguing for a long time. I eventually came to the conclusion that you have a sound of your own, just as you have a vocal sound of your own, something that people can recognize across a crowded room out of hundreds of millions of different voices that you may hear, or hundreds of thousands that you may hear every day. Someone will recognize your voice.
I've worked with a lot of drummers in my time, and Gary Husband is one of them.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank all the good drummers who know about time, so that I can play, and musicians like me can play over the top of some music and pretend they know where the time is, but in fact I'm listening to the drummer to give them a clue where it is.
If I had to think of the ideal place for me, it's where the struggle and the heart meet.